we're going to be going over cards that have played a lot better than we thought they would.
I'm your host, Joe Cherries.
I'm your host, BZ, and that makes us the Nitpicking Nerds, which means we have Patreon, which means you can go there, give us your direct support. We'll probably just love you forever, honestly, because you're helping keep the lights on. You're putting food in our bellies.
Yes, we'll love you as much as we can without making you uncomfortable. If you want to support this channel and you want to buy Magic cards, which you're going to do anyway, obviously, you're a Magic player, you're going to buy Magic cards. Cool Stuff Inc. is the place to go. Go there and use the code
NERDS.
And if you use code
NERDS,
then you will get 5% off your order and show love and support for the nerds so that Cool Stuff Inc. knows that we sent you. You save money, we get your purchase so they know that we sent you so that we can continue working with Cool Stuff Inc.
That's right. It's time to ditch redacted website and go on over to Cool Stuff Inc.
Yes, where you can buy Dragon Shields, the best sleeves in the multiverse.
Good sleeves.
And honestly, Dragon Shield is amazing. You can buy them through Cool Stuff Inc. using code
NERDS.
And you can just buy them using the direct links that we have in the description to support the nerds even more. Either way, you're supporting the nerds and getting the best sleeves in the multiverse.
Good sleeves.
And we have a very special sponsor for today's video, and that is an awesome new Kickstarter. Johannes Voss has got a bunch of new playmats, and you can go to this Kickstarter and get one of them, two of them, three of them, four of them, or 10 of them, because they have stretch goals to get even more. Like, we haven't told you what they got originally, but you can get the doggo planes and give to Osiris by helping them reach those stretch goals. What are the ones that they're starting with? What are the base ones, BZ?
Well, we got DMU Plains, DMU Islands, so classics, the Grand Prix Chiba Angel, which I did not ever see before, and you've probably never seen before, so that's even more excuse to go click the link. There's also the Sphere of Safety from Jumpstart and the Sanctum of All, which was like one of the coolest arts in that core set. And like you said, the stretch goals, Gift of Orzhova, Doggo Plains, those are some heavy hitters.
I want you to tell me that Sphere of, or Sanctum of All, rather. Tell me that this Sanctum of All is sitting right here. You can see it. Tell me that that's not a mustachioed man. The Sanctum of All is just a mustachioed man, because I can see a mustachioed man.
I cannot confirm. Maybe there's a stretch goal where if you give enough money, Johannes Voss will tell you if there's a mustachioed man. But for now, I would assume that it's mostly just playmats, and that's awesome.
And also, if you want to know, Sphere of Safety, not actually from whatever Beezy said, actually from a secret layer. So, Beezy's a liar. I am a truther. That is how this goes. You should go there. You should support this. And guess what? Special link in the description. Use our link so that they know we sent you. And again, using all these special links lets everybody know that we have sent you and that you are supporting us. Support us. Help us.
It's like you roll up and you go, Nitpicking Nerds sent me. Here's some money.
All right, let's go. What is the video for today, BZ?
It's Overperformers. It is cards that we've been playing that have outperformed a previous expectation we had of them. Even if the card is good and it ends up playing better, like, we can think the card is good, bad, terrible, medium. All it has to do is play way better than that, and it's going on this video.
Yeah, exactly. So it isn't about, like, we thought this was bad, now it's good. We thought this was good, now it's better. It is, we had whatever expectation. There is something. I thought this card was the second best card ever, and now it's the first best card ever. That is enough to put it on this list. It just has to do better than we thought it would.
Yeah, so let's get to the first one. This is Generous Patron, and we have a lot of them, and we'd appreciate your support. But it's 2 and a green for a 1/4. Support 2, which means you can put 2 counters, 1 counter on each of up to 2 creatures. Doesn't have to be yours, which is relevant because whenever you put a counter on a creature you don't control, you draw a card. And that can count for each individual creature, so right away, you draw 2 if you just give out 2 +1/+1 counters, which is like virtually nothing. So you get like a weird green divination, but this card has been playing so good for me. We didn't even think it was bad. We play this card all the time. But my God, lately it's just been off the chain.
There's a couple of things about this card that are really, really good. One, proliferation is absurd with it. So if you already have counters on your opponent's things, negative counters, any type of counter. So that's actually the second thing. This does not care what kind of counter it is whatsoever. -1/-1 counters, +1/+1 counters. If they have Luxior on a Planeswalker, a loyalty counter will draw you a card. I really like this. Where I've been playing this is my Zyra deck. When you attack, you put an egg counter on something. That draws you a card. It does not matter what kind of counter you're throwing out there. Proliferate the egg counter. It does nothing mechanically in the game. Guess what? You'll draw a card still because you're putting counters on their stuff.
It's really, really good with like Evolution Sage. You give away 2 counters. That's how many there are there, bare minimum. People might just have counters on their stuff from their things. Then when you proliferate, like, all right, that's 1, that's 2, that's 3. I will just draw 3 cards. I played a Contagion Engine with this thing out. Oh my god, I drew like 20-something cards.
It's an absurd combo. It's also absurd with like Yawgmoth. Like if you're playing a black-green deck, all right, I'll sacrifice a creature, put a -1 counter, draw a card from that, and then draw a card from the Yawgmoth. So now Yawgmoth is sacrifice a creature, draw 2 cards. That's absurd.
Yeah, Generous Patron, really, really good Magic card.
Yeah, just make sure you got synergy with it. You're looking like you don't even need to have necessarily a counter deck. Like I said, it fits perfectly in Zyra. It comes down divinations, and then every Zyra attack, I draw an extra card. Like there's tons of commanders that put counters. Chevelle is another one. On your upkeep, put a bounty counter out. Like it goes in that deck.
It's just weird because like it's like green Muldrifter. It's like 2 and a green, draw 2 cards.
With very little
I mean,
downside.
like, what else do I have to do to this thing, you know?
Giving away the counters can just be, you can help your opponent. You can make friends with the opponent. If you put this on something like an Esper Sentinel, be like, hey, let's be friends. And you put it on the Esper Sentinel, they're going to not only just not attack you with that, they're going to be your friend. You've made an ally.
Yeah, it just seems like maybe we should be playing this card even more
A little
than we already do.
I just think you need a little bit of synergy. Like, as long as you have that little bit of synergy, this thing is like a solid B, where it's a very strong Magic card.
Yeah, what's the next one?
It is Lethal Schemes. 2 black, destroy target creature or planeswalker. Ooh, look out for that planeswalker text. But it's got Convoke, so you can pay with creatures, meaning this can be a 0-mana spell, which is ridiculous. And then each creature that convoked to cast this connives, meaning you draw 1 and then discard. And if you discard a non-land, you get a +1/+1 counter. So this could be absolutely free, no mana. Tap 4 of your creatures, because if you tap a black creature, it can pay for the black pips. Absolutely amazing. And then, so now you had a free spell, destroyed something for free, and now you draw 1, discard, draw 1, discard, draw 1, discard, draw 1, discard. You've looked at 4 new cards, you've molded your hand, and what did you...
4 cards in your graveyard.
Got 4 cards in your graveyard, got some counters on creatures that potentially want counters,
Kill the best thing on the board.
and kill the best thing on the board without spending a single mana. All of this without spending mana. And it's versatile. You don't necessarily have to have 4 creatures. Sometimes you can spend the 4 mana when you need it to be a 4-mana spell. You can spend 2 mana. You can spend 3 mana. It's a versatile card that costs what you need it to cost.
It's like the more creatures you have, the more absolutely off the wall great this card is. Every time I've played it, it just feels like I'm like, what am I doing? I'm just getting away with all this. I just played a removal spell, and I'm like, oh, let me draw 3, discard 3 real quick. Oh yeah, my creatures are bigger. It is really, really surprisingly good pretty much every time. And I have it in a Madness deck. God forbid you play this in a Madness deck, and then you discard 3 cards, and 2 of them are Madness, and you just draw basically 2 more cards.
Yes,
because you cast 2 spells.
And to be clear, we were high on this card already. We were already saying Lethal Schemes is a good card, but it's actually just a great card. It is such... Free spells are absurd. And the fact that this can be free while having the versatility of like doing other things, this card is bonkers. Like, you should be playing Lethal Schemes in more decks if you're not, especially creature-based decks that can cast it for free. That's where this card shines.
Like, if you have a black deck with creatures, I think you should play this card.
Which is most black decks, right?
Yeah.
Moving on, we have Lurking Predators. 6 mana. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature, put it directly into play. Otherwise, you may put it on bottom, meaning you don't necessarily have to. You could leave it on top. Obviously, your Lurking Predator triggers are not going to do anything, but you can draw that card if it's what you wanted the whole time.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about this card, like, ever. We've seen it a couple times, and it always seems to kind of do a lot more than it looks like it's going to do. It's kind of the good version of Mind Annihilation, or you could say Mind Annihilation is the bad version of this card.
Yeah, so this card, it triggers 1,000,000 times. That is the main thing about this. They're always most likely going to put the card on the bottom every time so that they can keep looking for creatures. This is just a must-answer threat, or else they're going to take it off and run away with the game. The fact is, when you play this, it's 6 mana, so it's a little later in the game. It's not super early, not super late, somewhere mid-game or late game. That's when players are casting the most spells, is when they have the most mana, which is later in the game. I started sequencing one of my turns, and I'm like, oh wait, I have to back up so I can play my removal spell for first, or else he's going to get 13 triggers off of this thing, and it's just going to put him in a dominant position. And even when you answer it, it still gets at least 1 trigger. This is an absolute must-answer threat that when I looked at it before, when I first thought about it, it's like a card I don't think I'd put in a deck. It's like it doesn't fit anywhere that I think. Now I see it, it's like, wow, okay, if I have a super like 30, 35 creature deck, plus anything more than that, I absolutely want this card, because this card it can really be the like, hey, I'm playing a 40 creature deck. This can be the 1 or 2 non-creature spells I'm playing.
Yeah, I think 40 is probably where I'd want to aim if I was playing this card, but it really can do work. And even if you pass to the next person, if they don't have a removal spell, well, they still want to cast spells, right? So you're going to get a few triggers off this, and then it can just get out of control. As soon as you hit one thing, you're like, all right, that's great. And then the rest is just gravy.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as you get one or two creatures, it's absurd. And like you said, the decks you're playing this in, like let's just use an example of like a Henty deck. My Henty deck's all creatures, but if this was in the deck, it is like something like a over 50% to hit. Like that's absolutely absurd. Like it's 60 creatures. Like that's absolutely absurd. You can build decks like that with super high creature counts so that you're almost guaranteed. You get that like 50-50 a shot. It's absurd. I mean, you don't even need even if it's like 30 creatures, 1/3. Players, before your turn comes around, it's guaranteed 3 spells. That's like the minimum that's going to be cast. It probably more like 6 or 7 at that point in the game.
I would also wonder how this does in like an Enchantress deck where they have less creatures, maybe 30, but they can give a Shroud or something where you just can't even target it. That would be probably even more annoying.
That'd be super interesting, yeah. And it's also, it does let you set up your draws even. So like if something goes on top and it's not a creature, you can still keep, like you said, you can keep it there.
If it'll win you the game, you can keep it there.
Exactly. If it's a super strong card, you can just give up that.
Next is Sarah's Emissary. We have talked about it briefly. That was like A, like 4 months ago, and B, I wanted to reiterate how much better this thing is played than I thought it would. I honestly don't even think I expected to see it in Commander at all. It looked like a plant in Modern Horizons 2 for a Reanimator creature deck crusher, where it's like you bring it on the sideboard, you reanimate it, and now the Goblin deck can't beat you. But giving your stuff protection from creatures and you protection from creatures is the main way, at least a lot of people are going to close out games with Commander, is through creatures. So like you kind of can't die when this is out, and it looks like the good version, or the playable version, I would say, of Platinum Angel, which I think is terrible.
Yeah, exactly. This card does play a lot better than it looks. I also was on the same exact page as Beezy, where it's like, what is this card? I mean, this card is whatever. It's decent. It's not bad, but it's like, I'm not going to put it in my deck ever. It's just a good reanimation target. It's a solid angel. And when your creatures have protection from creatures, that's a decent amount of interaction that can't hit you. No creatures can deal damage to you, meaning you can't be dealt damage essentially in the main way of dealing damage in this format. And your creatures are unblockable. Nothing can block your creatures, meaning if you have 30 damage on board, you can just hit somebody for 30 automatically.
Right, and if you're ahead enough, then I can go ahead and choose something like Instant, where most of the single target removal spell that would take this out are instants. Now I'm kind of protected. I get this big flyer. Maybe I have other flyers. I don't know what's going on. But the fact that you can choose just any card type, like that is a lot of versatility, when mostly you go unblockable, kill somebody.
Yeah, exactly. So this card went from being like, I basically would never play a D- type of card to hey, this is like a CC plus solid card.
It's like a curve topper
that actually provides you something. And it's not that expensive, like $3. So it can go in a budget-y type.
It's budget friendly.
Budget friendly card. I like that.
I have it in a $50 deck. It fits right in there.
All right, let's move on to Tempt with Discovery, a card that we've kind of a medium on, because where it gets a lot of its power from is when your opponents say yes, because Tempt with Discovery is 3 and a green. You search your library for any land, put it on the battlefield. It is untapped if it comes in untapped, or it's tapped if it comes in tapped, whatever it says. And then your opponents each get that choice. If an opponent says yes, you get in their land. So the potential is you get 4 lands and each opponent gets 1. They can always say no, and that's the weakest version of this card. The weakest version of this card is when all opponents say no, and usually that's when you're in the lead. It still gets the best land out of your deck, is usable right away, or it's utility land like Field of the Dead, enters tapped, and you're getting like a zombie out of it right away. So this card is just super strong. And I just think that where we're at with this card, yes, I think everyone should say no. Let's say 85% of the time. Everyone should say no. That's what they should say. It's what's best for like the whole table as a whole. Like obviously when you're behind, you're gonna say yes, right? It's like I'm stuck on 3 lands.
I missed the land drop, yeah.
It's like I'm gonna do it. But most of the time you should say no. People don't say no as much as they should.
And I think we're underestimating 4 mana get your best land, which is really 3 mana with the land centers untapped. And sometimes you can get, Phyrexian Tower or Ancient Tomb or something, and then it's like even less, and you're just starting to like ramp ahead of everybody. See, you're almost like, okay, flavor text, here we go, I don't care. But then sometimes someone goes, I'm missing a land drop, and everyone's like, no, don't do this. And they're like, no, I'm going to do it, I don't care. Or even if they just want one, they just feel like it, you can't really stop them from taking it. So they take it, and maybe they're the first one to say yes, and you go, ooh, okay. And then the next person's like, fine, I'll do it. And it starts this chain, and you're just like, I can't lose the game now.
There's also a stubbornness thing. Like, there's also like, okay, I play it. I go get my land. Somebody to my left's like, I need a land. They take it. And that's like, everyone's like, well, if you're taking it, I'm taking it.
It's like, cool, I'll just silently win the game.
It's like, exactly. This card does win games. Like, You wouldn't think it like, oh, ramping, does that win the game? Yeah, it does sometimes, but it's like subtly. But it's like, no, this card legitimately.
Remember on turn 4 when they doubled their lands with all their best lands?
Yes, I literally have done that before where it's just like, the card won me the game, took me to the lead. Actually, I technically didn't win that game, but it let me knock out 4 players before anything even like happened.
How many players were in that game?
It was a 6-player game.
My God.
It was a weird game.
That's still pretty good.
But it literally won me the game.
It's like, yeah, a lot of times you can go back and trace the timeline of the game and go, where did it all go wrong? Probably right here, because you introduced 8 new lands into the game and you didn't have to.
Yes, exactly. Moving on, a card that I was very, very low on. I was like,
kind of forgot this card existed.
Yeah. So it's Ob Nixilis, the Fallen, 5 mana, land enters, drain somebody for 3, put 3 counters on it.
As in they lose 3.
Yes, they lose 3 life. Sorry, I said drain is different. So they lose 3 life. This card silently has just been very, very good. So basically, it's a no deck building restriction Valakut. Now, Valakut has opportunity cost. It's a land. There's high upside. Yes, I get it. It's not as good as Valakut. But you don't build around it at all. So you pay 5 mana and get this. And now every land is a drain. And it can silently take over the game. This goes in landfall decks. So there wasn't a ton of it. So I made Thalion the Gitrog. And I was like, I'm going to put all the landfall that's awesome into this deck. I'm like, I'll try this card. It has just won me games. And on top of just being like this drainer that like, oh, I'm slowly take out whatever opponent I want, or maybe, spread it out, get some damage. It also becomes a ridiculously large threat that is a forced chump. And if somebody's playing like, say, a dragon deck or something along those lines, or something that doesn't make a ton of go-wide things, suddenly they're forced to jump with real creatures because your thing's a 15/15 out of nowhere.
And if you give it trample or you have a Saracen Emissary in your deck or something, well, you could just kill somebody, which is kind of like bonus, because I really just would rather like this just be some enchantment that makes people lose life. So the fact that I can get something out of it being a creature and not just have it go, well, that sucks. My removal or my life loss outlet is more killable. It's like, oh, it can just kill people itself.
Legitimately, I was very low on this card. Like I basically tried it because I'm like, hey, it looks fun. I'm playing a thematic deck where I want.
Seems annoying. It's like all this unblockable damage.
Yes, exactly. It's direct damage. Take out the player you need to take out. It demands an answer, right? In the decks you're going to play it in, you're going to be 2, 3, 4 land drops a turn. So you're going to be draining them for 9, 12, 15, depending on how many lands you can actually play in a turn. And
if you can't stop Ob Nixilis, you got to throw a Saracen Emissary in your deck and choose creature.
Yeah, that is how you answer Ob Nixilis.
I think it is. Let's go to another way to answer Ob Nixilis. And it kind of answers anything. And this card we thought was great, and maybe one of the best cards in Neon Dynasty, but it turns out it's the best card not close, except for maybe lands. So the best spell. And also it's kind of unfun because it's so good. It's Farewell. It's 4 white. You exile all of the following of your choice: creatures, artifacts, enchantments, and graveyards. So it leaves away planeswalkers, which could be good for you. But basically you get to choose whatever's getting you down, whatever's bringing you down, harshing your mellow that game, and just remove it forever. And the fact that it hits graveyards means there's no recursion, there's no bounce back. We're starting over. I removed your stuff. Deal with it. Most of the time they can't, and the game is like a little slow to go, but you're way ahead.
I think, yeah, this card is absurd. Like, the fact of the matter is, there's nothing on board. I mean, it gets rid of everything. Like, you have to restart with whatever's in your hand. That's just the way it goes. Your graveyard decks get completely destroyed. Your onboard decks, your dice triggers, all of this. Nothing is happening. It's exiled. It's gone. They're essentially unreachable except for like 3 or 4 cards that get them. It's absurd how strong this card is. And like you said, we thought it was one of the best cards in the Neon Dynasty, but it's like, it's not just that. It might be the best white board wipe of all time, which is ridiculous because you're playing premium. Like,
we have Vanquish the Horde. We have all this other stuff off to your command.
6 mana. And like you said, we've approached this like, we thought this card was amazing. We graded it an A when we talked about Neon Dynasty. That is a high grade for a card. But simply put, this card is an A+. This is one of the best, if not the best white board wipe, and it is a control staple. Like, absurd for any type of control deck. It's unfun how good this card is, and that is saying something. This is the first board wipe I've ever seen where, besides like maybe Armageddon, which is a land board wipe,
or like Decree of Annihilation. Those don't count.
Yeah, they're not counting those. This is like the least fun board wipe because it's so good. It sets the game back to a point of actual resetting.
It's like, oh, you want a board wipe? Players you can't handle the board wipes. You couldn't handle a real board wipe. This is it. It's like everything's gone. No, not fake gone. It's real gone.
Yeah, card is absurd. Like, Farewell, probably the best board wipe in the format, and it costs 6 mana. That is absurd.
Yeah, when we have Tragic Arrogance and Vanquish the Horde, it's like, what was topping those? Oh, maybe this.
We have 4 mana wipe the board. Well, why not wipe everything off the board? Like just compare this to Planar Cleansing. Planar Cleansing is a decent playable card. This is 50 steps better than Planar Cleansing.
Hour of Revelation is better than Planar Cleansing, though.
Yeah, but
this is, I think, better than Hour of Revelation. It's just...
Yeah, exactly. It's absurd. It's weird how good this card actually is.
Yeah, if you haven't gotten Farewell yet, if you're still like holding out on it, I would get one.
It's official. The Nitpicking Nerds saying best board wipe in the format.
Whoa, it's official. Number 8. This is a card I've been pretty excited about every time I've had it in my hand, and it feels kind of like it can't go wrong for me. And I'm just gonna go pass the turn. And at the end step, I'm going to play Elminster's Simulacrum with 4 blue. For each opponent, choose a creature they control, and you get a token that's a copy of it. So it does target, but you're not targeting your stuff. You're targeting your opponent's stuff. And you're going to get 3, whatever their best creatures are, 3 of the best things on the battlefield for 6 mana and instant speed. And then you untap with them, and it just can go, it's going to go your way.
Yeah, so Elminster's Simulacrum is another card where it's like, I was super low on this card. When I saw this card, it's like, it's fine. Like, this card isn't unplayable. It's like, do I really want this card? Like, where am I going to fit this in?
Maybe it was a limited bomb.
But yeah, definitely a limited bomb. But, like, exactly. It was good and limited. It's good at maybe cube card. But it's like, no, this actually has homes if you care about making token copies of things. When you can actually take advantage of making this token copy of something, this card becomes actually absurd because it's just... You go from, okay, I'll pass with 6 mana up. Okay, your opponents all do their thing. I'll take the best 3 creatures on the board. Okay, game over. I'm suddenly in the lead, and all I did was pass with 6 mana. You're like, oh, BZ's not a threat. He's got is 6 mana up. Maybe
I'll tap out for Vitali or something.
Yeah, maybe I'll do something like that. No, this card is way better than it reads, which is saying something because I think it reads awful.
It reads very bad, and it plays a lot better than that. So I would try this card out if you care about tokens, or if you maybe have a draw go type of thing. This can kind of just steal games.
Synergy. I look for some synergy with it. Like you said, draw go means you care about the instant, and tokens means you care about the tokens. Just find some synergy, and this card will play better than it looks.
All right. Next is one of my least favorite commanders I think they've ever made because I don't understand it, and it doesn't play like a commander. It just plays like a dumb value engine. It's Shurikai Genesis Engine. It's 4 mana for an 8/8, and they basically said, we don't want you to ever crew this. So it's crew 8, and it says 1 tap, draw 2, discard 1, make a pilot that crews 2 higher than its power, which is 1/1. This card, I hate it. It's so good. It's just going to sit and play and poop out chump blockers and give you go up a card every time, and you get to put a card in your graveyard. I just don't know what this card is. Like, I can't wrap my head around why it exists, but it is super good, even better than we thought at the beginning.
Yeah, I think you read it and it looks fine. Like, I'm not saying this card looked bad to us. It's like, hey, but catalog, you never really catch up. The mana's never really there. It's like you're always spending more mana than you would for this kind of draw effect. And you just realize this thing doesn't go away. It's card advantage every single turn.
It survives the Day of Judgments.
While leaving a board state to help protect yourself at least a little bit. Give you chump blockers for those decently sized creatures. So it's like when you tap out on turn 5 to do this, you still have a nice chump blocker. You have your enchantment technically artifact, but you have your artifact that every turn is just going to tap and give you more card advantage, give you more 1/1s over and over and over again.
Yeah, just the nature of it just means like if you leave Shurikai out and they keep using it, you're falling behind. You're falling way behind. And there's some weird scenarios where if someone plays a board wipe, like Vanquish the Horde, they could untap with Shurikai and go, like, here's a 4/4 and a 4/4, and then chunk you for it, which is just like even more value out of it. So while this is a poorly designed card, in my opinion, that is basically an enchantment, it is a really good enchantment.
Yeah, exactly. This is the best vehicle that's been made, right? It's tough to compete with it. I mean, there's other vehicles that are close, but this is maybe not even. It's
not the best crewable vehicle.
It's definitely not the best vehicle for attacking. It is the best vehicle, period, though.
Yes.
All right, we have a card that is very, very recent.
Couldn't really be newer.
Can't be newer. Atali Primal Conqueror. Now, when I read this card, when I saw this card, I'm like, oh, cool. You pay 1 extra mana and you get the ETB to get Atali right away.
I was already thinking, wait a minute, that just seems better than Atali. But I didn't even know that this version of the trigger doesn't flip the top card. It flips until you hit a spell.
Yes. So this card is not just better than Atali. This card is way better than Atali. The fact is you get it right away. I'll pay the extra mana to get it right away. And you flip guaranteed 5 for 1. You're casting 5 spells. Now, will all of them be relevant? Of course not. So like 1 or 2 might be irrelevant, but they're all spells guaranteed. And then on top of that, on the back of this card, if you have 9 mana and somebody just doesn't have a defender, okay, here is Blightsteel Colossus.
Yeah.
And boom, get in with my Blightsteel Colossus. This card is actually absurd. Now, be aware, this is actually something important. This is a red-green card. If you're putting it in the deck, it has to be a red-green deck. That is super important. But this is so much card advantage just from playing this. You're going to get mana advantage. It's almost guaranteed that when you play this 7-drop, you're going to play 7 mana worth of spells. Like, almost guaranteed.
Yeah, even just from seeing this in like Two-Headed Giant and a couple Commander games over the weekend at Orlando, we're like, yep, this was like one of the best cards in the set.
Yeah, it's like, this is slightly better Atali. No, this is like way better Atali.
Like if I'm red-green, I'll happily play this over Atali if I have to choose one.
I do
forget it.
I really hate that this is considered a red-green card.
I would just prefer if it was red because that would open more shenanigans. But like, you find a deck that can blink this thing, and I don't know how you lose.
Yeah, this card is absurdly good. Even like I said, we thought it was a good card. It's actually a great card. This card is guaranteed card advantage.
Right, we're just calling it now. Had it way too low.
Had it too low. It's much better than that. If you want to check out some other Overperformers from a couple months ago, we do these videos as often as we can because obviously when we go to events, that's when we see the most of them.
That's when we play a lot of Magic.
We just came back from Command Fest Orlando, hosted by Cool Stuff. Thank you for hosting that. Go check out this video right here. Peace out, Tribe Scouts.